So if you've spent any amount of time house hunting in the Raleigh area lately, you probably have come across 3 letters that maybe scare you or maybe make you happy. Those are, of course, HOA, or Homeowners Association for short. And again, depending on who you ask, HOA can either be the greatest thing in the world or the most nightmarish experience they could ever imagine living in. So on today's video, we're gonna take you on a deep dive of all the things having to do with an HOA, both good and bad, in the Raleigh, North Carolina area. And if you stick around till the end, you're gonna get a really good idea of some things you need to watch out for if you choose to live in an HOA neighborhood. So as we said, HOAs are either really, really good or really, really bad, depending on who you ask. Typically, when we get people from our YouTube channel here reaching out to us to ask us help them buy a house, a lot of people are really, really scared of HOAs. They think they're going to be really meddlesome, be all in their business, cost a lot of money. And by and large, in the Raleigh area, this isn't true at all. And in fact, some of the times, some of the horror stories you hear about living in a neighborhood come from people who don't have HOAs. So very quickly, what is an HOA? An HOA is a governmental body that's in charge of a neighborhood. Their job is to make sure all the standards are upkept, that there's no cars up on blocks, that grass is cut, and that the neighborhood continues to have the charm it had when it first got started. Typically, you're gonna find HOAs in Cary, Holly Springs, North Raleigh, and to a lesser extent in the condos in downtown Raleigh, you're also going to find HOAs. And again, most of the time, HOAs stay out of your lives in the Raleigh area, but there still nevertheless are some horror stories out there. But on the flip side of all of the bad stories, there's also the positive stories. Again, HOAs help maintain the landscaping of the neighborhood, keep everything looking good. There's also HOAs like in Bedford at Falls River, Carpenter Village, Cary Park, where you are going to get tons of amenities, playgrounds, swimming pools, tennis courts, pickleball courts. In Bedford in North Raleigh, you're going to have a clubhouse with a community advisor there that works full-time helping the neighborhood keep up the culture and all of the cool stuff about living in that neighborhood. So it's not always a horrible situation to have an HOA. And in most cases, an HOA is only about $100 a month by and large, or some of them are even something like $200 or $300 a year. We've had a lot of people reach out to us from New York, New Jersey, California that aren't really sure what an HOA is. When we explain it to them and show them the advantages of our HOA in our area, they fall in love and decide to move into a neighborhood that has an HOA. So again, not all HOAs are horrible, and in some instances, not having an HOA may be a bad idea. One story that comes to my mind, one of the agents on our team, Dakota, has a client who's wanting to move to the Raleigh area from Pennsylvania. He's trying to sell his home. He does not live in an HOA. On his street, his next door neighbor has put up signs discouraging people from buying the house of the guy that wants to move here. And he's got stuff up like, "I'm crazy, don't move here. I will hurt you if you move here." Crazy stuff like that. And he's got it on his own land. So there's nothing you can do about it. So our client is kind of stuck, not able to move to Raleigh because the neighbor doesn't want any new neighbors in the area. And so that's a story where there's no HOA, and that's a story where certainly having an HOA would definitely have helped our client out. But on the flip side of all the positive things an HOA can do, there's also some really nightmare stories about how HOAs have made homeowners absolutely miserable. Some of these HOAs are like crazy, like militant in their rules. They have no problem throwing out a fine every 3rd day to someone. We personally had our pass home every time we left our trash can out overnight. The HOA Nazis would drive through the neighborhood giving out fines and inevitably would give us a warning letter telling us that our trash cans were out too long, and they were out a whopping 4 or 5 hours past time. It was crazy, but it was just something you dealt with these obscene, nosy, sheriff-like HOAs. Another terrible story we heard was the family that installed solar panels on their house in Raleigh. Their HOA fined them for having these solar panels It went all the way to the North Carolina Supreme Court, who eventually ruled in the favor of these homeowners that the HOA couldn't be that meddlesome in their lives. But you can only imagine the costs that these people had to deal with going through the court system to keep their solar panels. Or the story of the resident who put up a snack and treat stand for dogs in the neighborhood. The HOA threatened to fine him and make his life absolutely miserable and put a lien on his house. It went through the Wake County court system in 2022. Good news is the homeowner was able to prevail. But again, what a giant hassle that is, trying to do a good deed for the pups of the neighborhood, and the HOA has got to be meddlesome. Or the story of our client who bought a house in Wake Forest and everything was really, really great with living in that neighborhood until they decided to change out their mailbox. And because they didn't get it approved by the HOA, they were fined $200 for a mailbox. Or the family in Cary who decided to put in a small garden in their front yard with tomato plants. The HOA said, nope, it violates the landscaping policy and forced the homeowners to rip out their tomato garden. Or back to Bedford, which I praised a few minutes ago. They've recently enacted a rule that states you can't rent out your home that you've bought years ago. You can't rent that home out. This has affected home values to some extent in the neighborhood, making it difficult for people that want to invest in a rental property to buy in Bedford. This was a big shock to a lot of people and deters some people from buying in this neighborhood. We also had a horror story of a client who bought a few years ago in one of the prominent neighborhoods of Cary. They closed on their home, and it was about a week and a half between the time they closed and actually moved into their home. They were from out of state, and in that ensuing period of time, their grass went from completely freshly mowed by the previous owners to being a whopping this much overgrown, if that's even a word for overgrown, because it went from this to this. The HOA fined them and yelled at them that their grass was unkempt. It had been a week. It wasn't like it was a month. And so certainly that put a bad taste in the mouth of my client. He likes the neighborhood, happy with the neighborhood, but that really just set him off, as you can imagine. So if you're looking for an HOA or looking to avoid an HOA in the Raleigh area, where would you predominantly want to look or avoid? Well, Cary and Apex are certainly at the top of the list. They are very, very strong HOAs in the Cary area and the Apex area. Again, my client with the grass was in a major Cary neighborhood. Also, Holly Springs is known to have a lot of HOAs, lots of family-oriented neighborhoods in Holly Springs with lots of great amenities, but also the rules that come along with them. And of course, there's also North Raleigh, where Bedford at Falls River is, that I talked about earlier. North Raleigh has a good number of HOAs. And in fact, really, just about anywhere you can think of that has new construction, a new construction community, very much likely will be an HOA neighborhood. Lastly, we can't forget downtown Raleigh and downtown Durham, where there's condo buildings. They very much have HOAs, and it's based on the size of your condo unit. And good news about the HOAs for condo buildings is they maintain the exterior of your building, making your insurance a good bit cheaper. But again, they also have rules associated with living in those buildings. The key to all of this is knowing exactly what you're getting for your money. Are you getting a neighborhood where there's tons of amenities? Are you getting a neighborhood where they just are maintaining the front sign and a little bit of landscaping and therefore they don't charge you much? And also, incidentally, they don't enforce the rules as much? Or are you getting a neighborhood with a lot of busybody HOA sheriffs out and about looking to cause trouble? This is something you need to be aware of and look for. And in addition to knowing what you're going to get from your HOA, there's some really good practical advice we'd like to share with you about how to buy a house in an HOA neighborhood and knowing what the situation is. First off, read the HOA documents before moving into the neighborhood. It may be that the neighborhood doesn't allow commercial enterprises in the house. It may be that something else is going on that you're not happy with. So know what you're getting yourself into on the front end by reading the HOA covenants. And of course, for our clients that are working with us, we are more than happy to provide those as part of the service of what we do. As well, the other thing you want to know is get an idea of the financial strength of the HOA. Get the budget, determine if they're in debt, if there's any problems with the neighborhood. For example, way back probably 12 years ago, I sold a home in a townhome community with very high HOAs. We found out after the fact, as we're about going through the process of making an offer on this property, that it was because the roofs were in need of massive replacement. And so this was a special fee that was getting charged to the HOA residents. And so just know that that's something you want to be aware of. A lot of HOAs in that instance often run a debt, which is not a cool thing. You want to know what you're getting yourself into before you actually buy into that neighborhood. And of course, ask the neighbors how they feel about the HOA. Are they a really good HOA that leaves you alone and really adds to the character and benefit of the neighborhood? Or are they these nosy sheriff types that are always looking for hedges being too overgrown or someone doing something that they shouldn't be doing? And of course, as we said earlier about Bedford, look out and check, are there any rental restrictions? If you're planning on buying this home and renting it out later, you need to know if that's allowed by the neighborhood. Don't buy the home and then find that out. And of course, don't forget to factor in your dues for the HOA into your monthly budget. Just like you have to worry about taxes and insurance, you also have to worry about HOA dues. It may be $50, it may be $100 a month, or it may be $200 or $300 a year. Whatever that is, make sure you're factoring that into your monthly budget. Bottom line, a good HOA is going to make you happy to live in that neighborhood, whereas a bad HOA is going to make you really eager to leave that neighborhood. And by the way, on a personal note, as many long-time viewers of our channel have known, we are looking to buy a new house. We've been looking for many, many months, and we're looking to be in an HOA neighborhood. I know this video has made HOA seem really negative, but know that they definitely have a positive place if you decide to move to one with a good HOA. It definitely adds to the benefit of the neighborhood, keeps things up, and also all of the different amenities of a neighborhood, like, again, the swimming pools and the tennis courts. Those neighborhoods typically are going to have an HOA, and this is certainly something we are looking for. So, is living in an HOA neighborhood really worth it? Well, it all depends on your lifestyle. If you're a busy person, or maybe you're a bit older and you don't want to maintain the exterior of your home or the lawn, living in an HOA neighborhood that does that is going to be a huge time saver. As well, if you really like all the great amenities that some of these neighborhoods have, like Bedford at Falls River, HOAs are going to be definitely the way you want to go. But either way, make sure you do your research on the front end using the tips we just gave you in this video so that you can avoid moving into a neighborhood with HOA nightmares. So if you're considering a move to the Raleigh area, contact us at the information below. We'll be happy to give you details on HOA neighborhoods and non-HOA neighborhoods, whatever you prefer. Check out this video. We think you're really going to like this one as well. Like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.